During my time in the Navy, it never once occurred to me that there could be any other possibility that we would have to have lived on a ball Earth. So it wasn't in the purview of anyone around me. It was just never even something ever talked about. There's nothing in the literature that I read that told me one way or the other. But in hindsight, this is all in hindsight. It's only when I look back that I can tell you that everything that we've done to measure sound, everything that we do right now in the open market, things that I can talk about, the actual passive acoustic equipment that's available or the active sonar equipment that's available, all of them do rely on the concept of a flat Earth, even though they don't explicitly say that. There's even some specific equipment that I simply just can't talk about, but it really does, only in hindsight. I realized this would only work if we're living in a flat environment. In fact, all of our charts were based off that.
Right. Yeah, and that doesn't surprise me at all, because so were the radar charts that we worked off of. So in sonar, obviously if you're in a submarine or something like that, what kind of ranging did you have? I mean, how far away could you actually detect targets with the sonar?
Well, technically you could hear a target for as far away as, say, 1,000 miles.
Wow.
It's gonna depend on there's a SOFAR. There is a channel. You might be familiar with this because the same thing exists in the troposphere, I think. I mean, in the atmosphere, there is a channel where the pressure causes sound to move slower than anywhere else. And underwater, that's met through pressure, temperature, salinity. There's an optimal curve there, which actually causes a slowdown of sound as sound passes through that SOFAR channel. So that channel acts as a sort of an underwater internet for whales, for really anything. Anyone who wants to communicate underwater could pump their sound into that SOFAR channel, and it's going to travel for thousands of miles. To me, that alone is a flat Earth proof. There is a consequence of sound being wrapped around a donut versus sound being able to just permeate straight. However, it's not exact enough where I've gotten in enough arguments with people where I can't just like flip this card over and go, haha, see, here.
Right.
Here's the perfect proof for that. So that's just one element of underwater acoustics. There's really two types of sonar. There's an active sonar and a passive sonar. And so in active mode, you would be sending a pulse or a signal or an oscillation out from your transducer and then listening for the time it took for that pulse to get back. That would give you a very active, not only vector of where your target is, but more specifically, it would give you a distance and a range. And that's really is what's crucial for underwater. Meanwhile, on passive side, all you can really do is detect a vector of where something's coming from. You can't really range it from there. But the primary meat, the stake that I'm bringing to this conversation is that there is something called acoustic shadows. And these acoustic shadows, I'm sure there's the same thing in the radar. There are radar shadows where if you're hitting a direct target, anything behind that target is going to be blind. And it's just simply, it would be the easiest thing in the world for submarines to hide over the curve. I don't see how they would ever be able to be found simply because they could stay low enough on the bottom where there's a hump of earth between them and the person trying to hunt them.
So essentially anything over, say, 10 to 15 miles, which would give you, 60 to 100 foot plus of curvature, theoretically, they would be in that blind spot for the sonar.
Exactly. And what I'm quoting here, this is all standard. You can Google this and look it up. This is just, how any kind of underwater submarine you would buy off the market, their sonar equipment, or if you were to build your own. This is just how transducers work. Yeah, there's going to be shadows, and you're going to be blind behind those shadows, and a hill or a hump at the bottom would be that giant shadow.
Okay, wow. That's very interesting. I never thought about anything like that before.